What does one say to an ancient Nephilim ghost?
I suppose you start with...
How do I get out of this chicken shit outfit?
Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
What's going on YouTube? It's Filthy and we're back with another Diablo 3 Season 36 video. Today we're going to talk about the starting sets, Adric's gifts, which are the best, which is the worst. Not great this time around, guys, got to be honest, but we're going to go through them anyway. If that sounds good, thumbs up, always brightens my day. And thanks also for the last super chat we got on the last video. It always does help keep the lights on. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. Now, Season 36 is going to start on the 12th of September. It is the Soul Shards. In the background, we've got some 110s. This is all with 3 to 4K Paragon. It's all augmented gear largely. It's, generally speaking, decent pieces. It's max roll push guides. Why 110? Well, that's kind of Altar of Right's endpoint, and we get into endgame after that, so that's why we've picked that. Now, of course, on the season, you're going to have the Soul Shards. They will add an awful lot of juice. They don't impact every build equally, so things like Inner Monk, things like the Fist of Heaven's Crusader get an awful lot of gas. Unfortunately, some of the other builds don't really get too much, but it is power, so you will have access to it. And I'll be making some starter guides, as many as I can, looking at the 2, 4 and 6 piece bonuses if you want to start some of these classes, just to see what to do with the set, how easy is it to get going, and all that good stuff. But without further ado, let's jump in and look at last place, which I've given to the Veers Wizard. Now, Veers is quite fun to play once you get it going. The problem is it all revolves around Archon. You start off doing no damage until you build up Archon stacks, and initially you do no damage unless you're actually in Archon. Archon's got a problem. It's on a 120 second cooldown, and initially you're just not going to have the CDR. You're not going to have it on your gloves, you're not going to have it on your weapon, offhand shoulders, all that sort of stuff. And you're not going to do any damage, except for this little burst window whilst you are actually in Archon. Now, the main item to find that I think is going to help you out with your 6-piece Veers is going to be a Messerschmitt's Reaver, two-handed axe that will take a skill cooldown 1 second off it every time you kill something. So as long as you're killing enough stuff in Archon, it'll reset by the time you get out of it. Now, Chantodo's Will, if you can find it, will give you this 4000% weapon damage as like an AoE explosion, which makes it quite a lazy and fun build. But again, until you get enough cooldown, even that probably isn't going to help you out. Swami will give you 20 Archon stacks or 20 seconds of Archon stacks after you come out, so you can still do a bit of damage after Archon. The Fazula's Improbable Chain will let you start with 50 Archon stacks, so you can actually do a little bit of damage. But generally, you're looking for stuff like the Zodiac to try and reset your cooldown. You're looking for, as I said earlier, the Messerschmitt's Reaver or an Ingeome just to get Archon back and going. Unfortunately, the 2 and 4 pieces are not, again, they revolve around Archon. Without the cooldown, they're going to be pretty useless. So this might be one where you want to make a Legacy of Dreams wizard, and then just kind of play it by ear as to whether you wish to do the season journey and get your 6-piece Archon, invest in trying to get 200 axes for the Messerschmitt, or whether you want to go off and play Legacy of Dreams and do something like Frozen Orb. But overall, this is a really weak set to start off with because it's just got such massive cooldown problems, and no Archon, no damage. Moving us into 6th, we've got the Hammers build for the Crusader, so the Seeker of the Light set. Unfortunately, Hammerdin is really strong in Diablo 2, but in Diablo 3 this is probably one of, if not the weakest set in the game. Again, it does require some cooldown. It's quite clunky to play because you've got to get your hits off with Falling Sword, and hammers are quite thirsty and expensive early on, and so it's not particularly amazing. It's quite squishy as well, with only having a 50% damage reduction on the 4-piece bonus. One thing it does have going for it though is modifiers are fairly easy to find because your Guard of Johanna, which gives you a nice big damage boost, is in the loot pool at level 1. And I think actually Johanna's Argument unlocks quite early as well, so you might find that whilst leveling. Again, I think it is possibly a level 1 item that you can roll and again stick in your cube. In addition, the Braces slot, Gabriel Van Braces, are in level 1, so they will really help you out with resource. You probably want to put a Topaz in your helmet. Again, similar to Veers, you probably could use this build for Torment 16, whereas Veers, once you got it up and running, would be like somewhat efficient. This, I think, will probably always suck at T16, so you want to get off this. you want to go on to Fist of Heavens with the super lightning damage. Realistically, nobody ever plays this set. Nobody pushes with it. Nobody speed farms with it. It's just a little bit trash. But as I say, starting items not that hard to find, and I know Crusader is going to be popular. So I think you're just going to basically have to get your 6-piece, massive hammer damage, and you're just going to have to spit out hammers, roll resource cost reduction, topaz in the helm, all that kind of stuff, until you can put something better together. But realistically, pretty weak set to have. I mean, think in the background, guys, I've got like 4k Paragon, and this 110 is not feeling easy whatsoever. Now, next up in 5th, we've got the Uliana Monk. Now, I like this a little better than the hammers, simply because the 2-piece has got a little bit of damage on it, blowing up your exploding palm. You get damage on your 4-piece with your 7-sided strike. You get this like 77% damage reduction. Unfortunately, again, it does require a little bit of cooldown because you're generally using your 7-sided strike to blow up your exploding palms. Push Guide has got the Shenlongs in it. I'm not a massive fan of this mechanic because the spirit stacks up, you hit your max damage, and you're trying to line up your convention at the same time. You're trying to press your 7-sided strike at the same time and like make big damage explosions. Very satisfying when it works, but again, a little bit on the kind of clunky side. There are a few different items that you can use for this. You don't have to necessarily go with the Fist of Az and the Shenlongs. You can do some stuff that buffs up the 7-sided strike. Again, Gundo gear. This is in the loot pool level 1 set of braces, which buffs up the exploding palm. So you can kind of put something together-ish. To be honest, the Veers, the Hammers, and the Ulianas, it was really difficult as to which of these is particularly the worst. But again, nobody really in their right mind is going to be playing Torment 16 with the Ulianas. Nobody's really going to be doing it with any of those 3 particular suits. So these 3, I think, are really kind of poor choices. And you're going to want to get off all of them as soon as possible. But Monk, I've gone for 3rd. 3rd worst, I guess. Moving into 4th, I've put the Witch Doctor. Now, realistically, nobody plays Witch Doctor. I certainly don't play it much other than Torment 16 farming. So I might be doing this set a little bit of a disservice. It's quite simple and straightforward because it's just massive, basically, spider damage. That's a generator, so you're looking for your depth diggers. You're looking for Mask of Jerem because it's a pet build, so it will get quite a lot out of the season theme. When you get your Dreg of Lies, you're going to get a nice bigger damage increase. You've got a Brood of Aranea belt that gives extra damage. You've got the Lacumbas for the damage reduction. It is a bit of a pain in the arse to find a Ring of Emptiness for your Witch Doctor to give the like 300% damage increase. Shikrai's Triumph gives you more damage. The Spider's Wing Grasp gives you more damage, but overall this is quite a straightforward one to play. You just basically throw spiders and that's it. One thing I'd say about the Maxwell guide is it did recommend Cloud of Insects for pushing for the damage reduction. I personally wish I'd swap this to Pestilence because I just find it annoying to press the Locust Swarm to get the 300% damage out of the Ring of Emptiness. But overall, this is like a fairly straightforward one. 75% damage reduction is quite nice for tankiness, and it's just so simple and straightforward. And I think it's probably one of the sets that will find it a little bit easier than doing a 110. Like a 110 on Ulianas, Hammers and Veers was a little bit of a struggle, whereas on the Witch Doctor, it did feel a little bit easier. And that was on one of my weaker characters, but it wasn't like fully augmented. But yeah, Witch Doctor, I think we're going to put there. Next up, we've got the Barbarian. So this is 3rd best. Immortal King, I think, is a fairly solid, if not spectacular start. The reason being is with it being just a flat damage modifier on the 6-piece of 4000, once you've got Wrath of the Berserker and Call of the Ancients up, it means you've got options to mix it with stuff. You can mix it with Whirlwind, you can play the Hammer of the Ancients with the Gavel of Judgment, the Remorseless, Burning Axe of Senkus, or any other offhand weapon that you find. Braces of the First Men in the loot pool level 1, Hammer of the Ancients, 500% damage, that's nice. You can do Seismic Slam if you want, so go for the Seismic Slam, Braces and Weapon. Band of Mites in the loot pool level 1, which is an automatic 80% damage reduction, which is really nice. And this set, you've only got one little trick to kind of work out with this, so it's almost as simple as the Arakir. All you have to do is spend Wrath, and it will reactivate that'll refresh your cooldown on Wrath of the Berserker. And once you've got that down, you just keep resetting Wrath of the Berserker. A little bit like Archon, you don't do any damage if you don't have the Wrath of the Berserker up, so that does suck. But but you don't need to worry so much about cooldown with this, because you've got this kind of spend wrath equals cooldown mechanic. Gavel of Judgments will kind of let you generate fury when you hit, so you'll always be like resetting your cooldown very, very quickly. You can get your Fury of the Ancients braces, which allow you to gain some wrath, and you can pick the damage reduction rune. Overall, it's pretty straightforward build, I think, to play. It's quite simple. You just basically slap with the hammers, group up with ground stomp and that sort of stuff. Fairly easy time of it, fairly solid. Not the fastest thing, but you can use an Ingeum. You can stick Furious Charge on, charge about the map fairly quickly, moderately efficiently as a Hotabar, so it's not the worst for Torment 16. I'd say out of the 4 other builds that we've looked at before this would be probably my best Torment 16 one out the box. Veers, I'm not sure how much like cooldown and stuff you'd need, but I think the Barb would probably be fairly strong as soon as you get there. And then look, you're going to go off and make a Whirlwind Barb, because that's what you do if you're doing your solo Barb. Now, next up, I've got the Natalia's Demon Hunter. Now, this was a bit of a tricky one, so it finishes in second. Now, it's probably the strongest set that we've got access to in terms of pushing. It's debatable between this and the Tragouls, because the Tragouls, which is obviously the remaining set for the Necromancer, is really strong, but then so is Natalia's. Now, Natalia's, I think, this is the one I have actually tested this one so far with the 2, 4, and 6 piece and the modifiers. Once you get everything, it's Torment 16 immediately. No Paragon, no gems, no nothing. It is obviously chuck on a Soul Shard, you're going to be doing even more damage. But the idea with this one is you put the spike traps down, you detonate them with your evasive fire. You're looking for Tragul's coils to give you an extra rune on spike traps and some extra damage. You're looking for the Shannon Bolter. Spike traps will lure enemies to them and do increased damage. You're looking for your Demon's Demise. Blast will damage enemies again after a second and increase damage and all that sort of stuff. You don't need to worry about your Guardians and Orgulds initially. You will be able to like Torment 16. It's just not particularly efficient because it's a little bit clunky, because again, you're putting down traps, you're blowing them up, putting them down, blowing them up. It's not the fastest and most efficient thing, but it does lead itself into a Gears of Dreadlands Demon Hunter, because that's quite a fast build to put together. So you play on Torment 16 for a couple of hours, maybe 3 hours, you'll probably have a Gears of Dreadlands Demon Hunter set up, because the pieces will just drop and it's quite, you don't really need weapons and stuff like that. So it's very, very fast, I think, to gear off into something much more suitable. 110, I think I forgot to discuss that on the Barb, would be okay. I think 110 on Nats is really easy. It's so tanky and it does so much damage, you'll have no problem guessing there. And that brings us to what I think is probably what I'm going to pick, because I do feel like it's the strongest set on offer, which is the Tragul's Nova Necromancer. Now, the 2 and 4 pieces aren't amazing for Necro, but Necro doesn't really matter for that, because it's just got so many modifiers that you can get early on as well, which is really nice to make a decent character to get your 6 piece. So the reason Necromancer is just amazing to start is because, as well as being insanely fast to level to 70, because of Corpse Explosion being really powerful, you've only got 4 scythes in the pool, 3 of which will help you out do damage with your Blood Nova build. So you can find the Funerary pick, which will give you extra damage when you use it. You can get yourself a Scythe of the Cycle, which will buff up your Nova as well. Or you can get a Tragul's Corroded Fang again, which would buff up enemies provided they're cursed. So you've got like 3 out of 4 chance of getting a modifier just by upgrading a Scythe, which is insane compared to any of the other classes. The Blood Type Blade, which will give you like a 4,000% modifier when you've got 10 enemies in 25 yards. Again, it's a 1 in 4 chance to get this, so it's not that hard to find. So you can realistically expect pretty quickly to get your 6-piece Trags, a weapon that's going to do damage, and also a 2-handed Scythe in the cube pretty fast. And an Iron Rose, attacking with Scythe and Blood, will give you the free Nova, so you will need that one before you'll be able to use your Funerary pick for damage, bear that in mind. But again, you're just rolling shards. There's only 4 offhands in the pool. It's so easy to get. It's quite a tanky build, the Trags as well, so you don't necessarily need your Dainty Spinding. But again, you can modify it. Mantle of Channeling, 25%, super easy to get because it's just with blood shards. You do get a little bit fiddly with the jewellery, so the Crispin Sentence and the Haunted Visions, but they're not mega essential to get you going. And obviously, you'll just pump your DB. You box your weapons off so fast with this. You've got DBs to spare to put into rings and amulets and get your build going. And I personally think this is the fastest way into Torment 16. I think it's probably the fastest way into like this GR110 endgame. I don't recall Necro being amazing with the season theme. I think I did play quite a lot of Monk and Crusader when this was last played. But I'm going to try and play all 7 classes this time and really try and pump out a few videos, because I think Soul Shards, I didn't make many build videos last time around, and I'd like to do more. But that's it, guys. It's all from a solo perspective. It's all opinion. By all means, share yours with me. I think it is tough to pick between Trags and Nats in terms of like raw power, but I just think the speed of leveling for the Necromancer, speed of ease of setting it up, I just think it's the best thing that we've got. And probably anything below the Arik here on the list, I think is going to suck. So Monk, Crusader, Wizard, you're probably looking at doing Legacy of Dreams build for those, but maybe not necessarily. As I say, I'm going to do some 2, 4 and 6 piece testing, so definitely going to do Necro. I've done the Demon Hunter. I'm going to do the Barb, and then I'll try and mop up the other classes as well, because we've still got 10 days to go before the season launches. I hope you enjoyed the video. I've been the Filthy Casual. Take it easy, guys. Peace.